Every morning, the village wakes up with major main character energy as Lasty and Flowrim vibe in these massive, peaceful fields. Looking like they're in a high-budget shampoo commercial before the daily chaos starts. This thriving community is basically a fantasy United Nations featuring beastmen, dwarves, and elves all living together without catching a single case. Proving that everyone has maxed out harmony stats in this diverse server, under the guidance of Lulaki and Tia, who are definitely carrying all the brain sales here. Our boy Hiroku leads the squad by welcoming literally everyone with that legendary and wholesome "I'm just a ass" Impel Farmer Riz. Pikiran Hiroku Melayank Masalalunya when he first spawned in this map with nothing, but managed to recruit legendary guardian beasts like Kuro. Turning a survival horror game into a cozy farming simulator, Limunan Ichibaya sought Hiroku realize the village is now facing a massive housing crisis due to an explosive population boom, forcing him and Flowrim to expand territory before everything becomes a total mess. To survive the expansion grind, the village started serving efficiency-maxed meals, because when you're building a little empire, nobody has time for a 5-course dinner. We are talking purely practical fuel for the daily grind. While delivering lunch, Hiroku finds the civil servants like, and literally drowning under a mountain of paperwork so high it is basically a boss fight, proving that even in another world, bureaucracy is the villain. The admins like Clackus and Rosalind completely lost their remaining brain cells trying to calculate these illogical logistics. Looking like NPCs who just suffered a critical system error because the math simply was not mathing anymore. Fortunately, Flowrim clutched the situation by recruiting some high-tier demon specialists who started fixing the catastrophic mess with that absolute corporate Sigma energy, making the previous administrative collapse look like a minor skill issue. The daughter of House Poogle and the new staff are absolutely cooking with the data organization, instantly curing Hiroku's massive administrative anxiety and proving that sometimes you just need demons to make government work. During their breaks, these hard workers get the ultimate employee benefit by petting legendary monsters like they are just oversized golden retrievers, which honestly explains why their motivation levels are reaching peak legendary status. Meanwhile, Lulaki pulls out a map and starts plotting some low-key paranoid defense strategies for the new settlement, basically playing 5D chess to make sure the village expansion stays safe from any potential unwanted guests. They finally found the perfect spot, but the trees there are built different, literally tanking the lizardmen's axes like they are made of vibranium, leaving the squad looking totally confused at the Flora's insane defense.
Oh no.
Hiroku pulls out his cheat tool and starts slicing through those iron trees like butter, even building narrow bridges specifically designed to gatekeep giant bears. Because bridge-shaming large monsters is apparently a valid tactical strategy. In a total speedrun move, he flattens the land and installs a perfect water system, solving the entire land crisis instantly and securing the bag for the newest expansion of this absolute unit of a veal. Lage. Hiroku pulls out his cheat tool and starts slicing through those iron trees like butter, even building narrow bridges specifically designed to gatekeep giant bears. Because bridge-shaming large monsters is apparently a valid tactical strategy. In a total speedrun move, he flattens the land and installs a perfect water system, solving the entire land crisis instantly and securing the bag for the newest expansion of this absolute unit of a veal. Lage, Hiroku and Narf are basically inspecting the property like they're on HGTV, making sure the new infrastructure isn't mid so the village can handle the massive incoming population boom without any major lag. Tia notices Hiroku is doing way too much and tells him to touch grass for a second, because the man has zero chill when it comes to overworking himself with that god-tier tool of his. The lizardmen and elves are absolutely cooking, building houses at 2x speed like they're in a Minecraft creative mode montage because they know those refugees are going to spawn in any second now. Everything is going great until the construction site becomes a fail video, because a stray plank decides to vibe check Narf right on the head, proving that even in this world, Workplace safety is low-key non-existent. Just as Hirako is admiring his SimCity masterpiece, tear falls from the sky like a notification alert, dropping the news that the immigrants are arriving way ahead of schedule and totally ruining his call. Afternoon.
Yeah.
Drime stops being a whole dragon and starts apologizing for skipping the courier quest, because his lack of patience just gave Hirako a logistical headache that is definitely not bussin' for his planned timeline. Gordon shows up, and he's actually a polite king, totally subverting the angry monster trope and proving he's just a civilized leader looking for a safe space for his beefy squad of Minato refugees. Seeing the new rivals are starving, Hirako immediately tells his team to let them eat, serving up a feast because these exhausted Minatos have been traveling for way too long without any proper sna. CKS. Narf steps up as the ultimate cultural diplomat since Lizardmen and Minatos have that historical riz, helping everyone settle in and making sure the vibe in the village stays top tier for the new resid. Hence, the guest inn is officially at maximum capacity as the Minatos try to fit in, leaving Hirako stressed and Frau panicking because these houses were clearly not built for those absolute units to live in. Anne, Beazle finally spawns and looking like he's been through it, completely drained after teleporting the next wave of war refugees because he low-key sacrificed all his mana to get everyone to the village. Eighthly, a prideful herd of centaurs trots in acting like they own the place, forcing Hirako to step up and greet them as the village leader while another wave of diplomatic chaos begins to unfold. Since Hirako has negative knowledge about noble etiquette, Latiachi takes over the conversation to save him from being cooked, handling the arrogant centaurs like the absolute boss lady she was always meant to be. Latiachi stays unbothered even while Gruwald is throwing shade, ready to reveal her true status, because this centaur really thinks she's just talking to a random maid and is about to get ratioed. Gruwald's bravado evaporates the moment she realizes Latiachi's true rank, going from arrogant boss to total NPC real quick while begging for mercy as if her entire life flashed before her eyes. Hirako steps in to stop the awkward groveling before it gets even weirder, while Latiachi casually offers to manage the centaur crew, officially ending the beefs so they can finally talk business. While the maids back home are literally drowning in paperwork and crying for help, Hirako is busy staring at a tiny cabin wondering how on earth he's going to fit horses there. Since these centaurs didn't bring any shrinking riz, the housing situation becomes a massive logistical nightmare, forcing Hirako and Lu to brainstorm some serious architectural upgrades for their giant horse bodies. Just when things couldn't get more crowded, a group of silent green-haired girls spawns at the gates, looking like they just walked out of a forest and straight into Hiraku's growing refugee camp. Hiraku tries to be a polite host, but his brain completely lags when the giant log they're carrying suddenly grows a face and starts talking back like a very grounded plant-based leader. Igu explains they're actually tree spirits called Nyanyu Daphne, and their original forest home got absolutely wrecked by disasters, forcing them to wander like seasonal travelers looking for a place to root. They survived the long haul by turning into compact stumps, eventually finding this village after Merchant Michael told them it was the place to be, essentially acting as the world's best travel agent. Hirako offers them a standard buffet, but Igu has specific cravings, specifically asking for those shiny apples they saw earlier because normal food just isn't hitting the spot for these plant ladies. Turns out, their digestive system is just built different, as they prefer to plant their bare feet into the dirt and absorb nutrients like organic solar panels rather than eating regular meals. Talking to them is a total test of patience, because their plant-based internal clocks move in slow motion, leading to some painfully long silences that make Hirako feel like his internet just disconnected. Hirako tries to offer them a cozy house with massive windows, but they stubbornly insist on living in the dirt outside, completely rejecting his interior design skills in favor of that outdoor life. Eventually, Hirako just gives up and lets the Daphne sleep in the mud while the centaurs enjoy the luxury stables, finally settling the chaotic housing drama as night falls over the village.
日が来るだろうか。この際、
By the next morning, the high elf is looking like she's seen a ghost, completely drained by the skyrocketing administrative demands of managing what feels like an entire city of refugees overnight. Hirako starts crunching the insane resource numbers, but Lou is already in full builder mode, ready to mass-produce houses like she's playing a real-life game of SimCity with an infinite budget. Back in the yard, Gruwold completely bins her centaur pride and gives Latiachi a sincere apology, proving she's willing to sacrifice her ego if it means her people can stay in this paradise. Latiachi then drops the ultimate bombshell, laughing about how she's just a nobody compared to Hirako, which absolutely breaks Gruwold's brain as she realizes she's been underestimating the village's TR.U alpha. Hirako is basically playing SimCity now, welcoming Gordon, the centaurs, and those sentient New Daphne tree stumps to the squad as he holds a massive integration meeting for the new village expansio. And our boy Hirako tries to be a chill boss, but Gruwold has zero chill, treating him like a literal god while bowing so hard she might actually clip through the map and disappear. Latiachi sees the awkward vibes and tells Hirako he needs to lock in his inner Sigma, suggesting he roleplays as a cold emperor just to stop Gruwold from vibrating with pure fear.
とにかく一緒に暮らすんだし、あまり。
Since the village population is getting out of hand, Hirako promotes North and Latiachi to middle management because managing a literal zoo of different races alone is honestly a massive skill issue. Flashback starts as Senna gives Mamu a glowing LinkedIn recommendation, leading Hirako to put her in charge of the New Daphne folks who are just chillin' in the village like living furniture. The honeymoon phase ends when Hirako realizes Gordon and the centaur girls are absolute units who can't even fit through the front door of these tiny, budget NPC houses he built earlier. Lumberjacking is way too slow, so Hirako calls her Kuran and Lasti for some heavy lifting, hoping these dragons can clear the forest without accidentally turning the whole server into a scorched wasteland. Lasti and her Kuran have zero concept of moderation and start charging up a tactical nuke just to clear a few trees, proving that dragons are definitely not built for precision forest maintenance.
工事を続ける。ゆっくり行こう。しばらく。
After stopping the dragon apocalypse, the villagers start speedrunning construction, working together to build a paved road so fast it makes modern city planners look like they are playing in slow motion. And, meanwhile, Zabaton is busy knitting, but her sense of scale is totally cooked because the baby clothes she made for an Antia's kid are basically big enough for a grown adult. Back in the present, Hirako visits Gordon's new crib and feels like a tiny toddler because everything from the chairs to the spoons is designed for someone 10 times his actual size. Next, he visits the Centaur squad where the architecture looks more like a luxury stable since Gruwold and her team don't really do the whole walking on two legs thing very well. Gruwold explains their high IQ solution of using curtains instead of doors because trying to use a doorknob with centaur hands is a struggle that nobody in this fantasy village should face. In the baby corner, and manages to stop the crying by pulling some goofy faces while her Kuran watches, proving she's the secret MVP of childcare, even with a scary dragon audience watching. Latiachi finally maps out the 3 new satellite villages on the HUD, while Hirako and Leah realize they've officially transformed the neighborhood from a small farm into a whole entire kingdom. Hirako is breathing a massive sigh of relief because they finished the construction grind just in time, right before the winter patch drops and turns the whole world into a giant freezer. When it comes to naming the new spots, Hirako shows he has zero creativity by just calling them Village 1, 2, and 3 like a lazy developer naming his temporary save files, and immediately spawns in to roast him because changing those names later would be an administrative nightmare, forcing Hirako to stick with his mid-naming choices for the rest of eternity. Finally, Latiachi wraps things up by officially making the leaders mayors, as Hirako realizes he's finally delegated enough work to go back to being the chill, quiet farmer he always wanted. Even though Hirako just wants to retire as a quiet farmer, Tia tries to force some high-tier noble titles on him that he immediately rejects. Frorim then brings him back to reality because the tree folks housing situation is currently looking pretty mid. Instead of building gated communities for every race, Hiroku decides to hire the new Daphne squad as the village's organic CCTV. Their telepathic vibes are basically a 5 security network, keeping the whole map safe from any low-level mobs. Flora is absolutely geeked out over this living radar system because it's peak efficiency for the village. The council immediately votes to expand the coverage, making sure no NPC can sneak in without getting spotted by their new leafy sensors. Hiroku thought the Minotaurs and Centaurs would be absolute units at hunting, but Daga drops the news that they're flopping hard. Turns out, being built like a tank doesn't mean you have stealth riz in the thick, spooky forest. Since Koro's Wolfpack and Zabuton are already the village's avengers, they're way overqualified for hunting. Flora suggests letting the big guys stick to farming instead, which is way more chill and less likely to end in a total skill issue. The giant racers are out there putting in that work, plowing the fields like absolute chads to prep for winter. They're flexing their muscles, but their faces drop when they realize nothing is actually sprouting despite all that massive physical effort. Gordon has to step in and explain that they're basically trying to spawn crops in the wrong season. Hiroku and Frorim have been using magical cheat codes for so long they forgot how actual nature works. It's a total logic fail. Hiroku realizes his magical hoe is basically a game-breaking exploit that ignores the seasons entirely. It drains his stamina to manipulate time and space, making him realize he's been playing this farm simulator on creative mode while everyone else struggles. The flashback ends as Hiroku realizes he can't carry the whole server on his back anymore. The new fields are way too huge for his magical tool to handle alone. So it's finally time to let the villagers go old school. Gordon officially becomes the village's agriculture sensei, teaching everyone how to farm without using up items. His big brain moves are the only thing standing between the new residents and a very hungry, very cold winter season that's fast approaching. Seeing everyone grind without magic makes Hiroku feel humble as heck about his own powers. He decides it's time to build a shrine and thank the literal god of agriculture for gifting him such a broken, overpowered tool that made life easy. The shrine gets built, but the Minotaurs are looking at the statue like it's some mid-fanart they didn't ask for. Hiroku's vision of a grandpa god is sparking a whole theological debate because everyone has their own weird species headcanon. Couplicant Tanpa Narasi. These centaur couriers have zero chill and go way too fast, leading to a massive drift fail that leaves their wooden cart in pieces. Their ambition to break the sound barrier just ended in a total insurance nightmare and some very grumpy villagers. Hiroku is out here dreaming of being a majestic horse rider, but the local horse is absolutely not buying what he's selling. He gets brutally ignored by the animal, proving that even a powerful village mayor can have zero animal riz. Hiroku continues his struggle to show off his equestrian skills, but the local horse is straight up ghosting him, leaving our mayor looking like a total NPC while the animal ignores his very existence. Seeing Hiroku get curved by a literal farm animal, Gruwold steps up with peak main character energy, offering her back as a premium mount to prove centaurs are the ultimate way to travel. Gruwold puts the pedal to the metal, leaving Hiroku clinging for dear life as the world blurs, while that stubborn horse realizes he just got majorly gapped by a way faster engine. Fear of missing out hits hard because the horse suddenly does a total 180, acting all sweet and submissive just to secure his spot as Hiroku's favorite ride after seeing the new competition. Gruwold is absolutely not sharing her passenger, throwing a massive tantrum when she sees the horse trying to steal her job, because being Hiroku's designated transport is a title she'll fight for. Hiroku realizes he's living in a rom-com with livestock, so he implements a strict riding schedule to keep his mounts from starting a turf war and turning the village into a chaotic animal fight club. The village is growing so fast it's basically a city builder game on steroids, featuring bizarre daily encounters where even the local stumps have faces and opinions, making the mayor's life a total fever dream. Panic starts setting in for Hiroku as he realizes he's the only one holding the food supply together with his god-tier farming tool, making him feel like a solo player carrying a whole raid team. Tyr steps in to stop his mental spiral, gently reminding him that the villagers aren't just lazy NPCs and will eventually learn to farm for themselves, building a future that doesn't just rely on him. A majestic moment with a newborn baby should be wholesome. But the vibe is instantly killed when nature calls and Hiroku learns that being a legendary pioneer also involves dealing with very unlegendary dirty diapers. Looking at the population stats reveals a massive problem, because the village is basically a giant girls' club with 0 dudes, leaving Hiroku staring at a demographic collapse that could end the whole settlement. Gordon reports that his squad has plenty of men but immediately gets the we're cooked face, assuming Hiroku is about to draft them all into a suicide mission instead of just looking for bachelors. The matchmaking plan hits a literal wall when Gordon points out the biological size difference, making Hiroku realize that trying to pair giant minotaurs with delicate elves is a physical impossibility. That's just not happening. Running out of options, Hiroku pivots his hopes toward the centaurs, questioning Gruwald about the dudes in her group in a desperate attempt to find anyone who can help balance out this massive gender ratio. Gruwald drops the bomb that her entire squad is exclusively female, officially nuking Hiroku's second backup plan and leaving him back at square one in his quest to find some actual men for the village. Hiroku asks a simple question about interspecies marriage for research purposes, but Gruwald interprets it as a direct proposal and immediately switches to feral mode, proving she is absolutely down bad for her mayor. Winter in Great Tree Village is basically an Ice Age simulator, turning the map into a frozen wasteland and forcing everyone to stay inside because touching grass would literally kill them right now. While the outside world is cooked, Hiroku and Lulaki are busy living their best life eating melted cheese, proving that having a warm crib and infinite snacks is the ultimate survival riz. The lizardman drops a massive bomb by saying everyone is barely eating to save food, which is total NPC behavior because Hiroku has literal mountains of snacks waiting to be devoured by them. Hiroku pulls a pro-gamer move by using reverse psychology on the villagers, telling Mamu to frame eating as preventing waste, so they don't feel guilty about actually having a very bussin' meal. Mamu is low-key going through a whole existential crisis because the tree girls are too self-sufficient, making her feel like a useless NPC with absolutely no quests to give in this giant village. Hiroku finally gives Mamu a purpose by making her the official winter clothes police, tasked with reminding the tree girls that going outside without a fit is a one-way ticket to freezing solid. To solve the starvation bug once and for all, Hiroku starts a massive cooking event with sticky rice, aiming to turn a literal mountain of grain into enough fuel to keep everyone happy. Lulacy's theory about fermented food gets completely ratioed when Hiroku brings out a massive mortar and hammer, revealing his secret plan to manufacture some elite tier mochi that is definitely about to go hard. Hiroku's mind drifts back to the absolute grind of rice farming season, remembering all the sweat and tears he put in before snapping back to reality to start this intense mochi-making workout session. Hiroku starts pounding that mochi with absolute main character energy, but his stamina bar hits 0 almost instantly, proving that being a farmer doesn't automatically mean you have infinite cardio for this task. The girls accidentally apply dragon-level physical strength to the rice, turning it into a glowing magical hazard before Hiroku steps in to remind them they are making snacks, not building literal fantasy nukes. After rejecting the idea of using explosives to cook, the team successfully shapes the soft mochi into perfect snacks, finally achieving a culinary victory that doesn't involve any collateral damage or fire. The girls are absolutely losing it over how chewy and delicious the mochi, although Lulaki gets way too greedy and ends up burning her tongue like a total amateur in the process. This herbal koso mochi is incredibly refreshing, but Hiroko Loki remembers they needed a literal high-level raid team just to pick some grass. Proving that grocery shopping in this world is basically a boss fight, Donovan arrives with some homemade sake and instantly becomes the MVP. Turning this mochi party into a legendary winter tradition that has the whole village feeling absolutely elite and finally proper. Why fed? The villagers are still out here grinding, with Gordon putting those gains to good use by absolutely obliterating that mochi dough until it's smoother than a filter. Turning a morning workout into a tasty ritual. Suddenly, the peaceful vibes are shattered when General Gratz spawns out of nowhere to shoot his shot, falling to his knees and proposing to Renana with maximum main character energy and zero warning. Beazle has to step in and apologize for his homie's chaotic behavior. As Hiroko's mind wanders back to the Demon Palace where this whole obsession with the village girls first started brewing in the Pa. Saint. Coming back to reality, Gratz realizes he needs to secure the bag by asking the village chief for permission. Approaching Hiroko with that nervous energy of a guy meeting his father-in-law for the first time. Not wanting to accidentally start a war or break some weird law. Hiroko Loki consults the local girls to check if this whole impulsive marriage proposal thing is actually standard procedure in this fantasy world. The girls immediately start cooking up a whole fanfic in their heads, imagining Hiroko is some legendary villain gatekeeping true love. Proving that their hobby for drama is truly on another level of Delulu. Hiroko finally shuts down the drama by laying down the law, telling Gratz that the final choice belongs solely to Renana, because in this village, we respect personal space and don't do forced marriage vibes. Meanwhile, back at the Demon King's office, Gratz is busy being a hater and venting his jealousy during a serious meeting. Proving that even high-ranking generals can't escape the missing my gold blues. In a move that absolutely nobody saw coming, Gratz announces his resignation because he's ready to throw his whole career away just to live in the village and chase that 10 out of 10 romance. While the kingdom's HR department is having a total meltdown, Hiroko is back home living his best life. Casually experimenting with pickles and proving that good food is the only thing that actually matters. After vibing with his pickles, Hiroko has a massive realization that his rice balls are seriously lacking that crispy nori energy. Sparking a new quest to find some seaweed in a totally landlocked village. The moment Hiroko mentions nori, the girls' imaginations go wild, picturing some terrifying sea monster from the depths instead of a snack. Showing that their knowledge of ocean life is basically just pure nightmare fuel. Before the village starts building a bunker, Hiroko explains that nori is just dried seagrass. Using some random knowledge he remembered from a documentary back in his old life to calm everyone's farm. Raised nerves. Since they are miles away from any beach, the team decides to outsource the job to Michael, their go-to merchant who's basically the Amazon Prime of this world, despite the crazy winter weather. Michael actually delivers the goods, and even though the raw seaweed looks like some radioactive slime, Hiroko starts cutting it up immediately. Ready to turn that ocean goop into a culinary masterpiece for the village. With the help of the villagers, they start spreading the seaweed paste into square wooden frames. Basically performing a high-stakes arts and crafts session to make sure every sheet of nori is perfecto. Why uniform? Since waiting for the sun is a mid-strategy during winter, Tia and Lulaki use their literal god-tier magic to flash-dry the seaweed, turning the entire process into a high-tech kitchen shortcut for the ages. Everyone stares at the finished product with pure confusion, because to them, these black sheets look more like suspicious pieces of charcoal paper rather than something you'd actually want to put in our mouth. Hiroko starts roasting the suspicious charcoal paper over some coals, releasing an aroma so fire that the girls' and PC doubt instantly evaporates into pure, unadulterated hunger. Wrapping that crunchy sea paper around salted rice balls is a total game changer, and these girls are absolutely devouring them like they've never tasted real food in their entire lives. Michael the merchant immediately smells a business opportunity with the Moki Nori, realizing this portable, tasty snack is basically a money printer just waiting to happen in the big city. While acting like a professional, Michael tries to low-key fish for info on the village's legendary alcohol supply, hoping his bargaining riz is enough to score some high-tier loot. Hiraku moves on to sushi and recruits the maids as personal human fans to cool down the rice, which honestly looks like some top-tier royalty treatment for a lunch prep. Since raw fish is basically a crime in this world, Hiraku uses cooked veggies and some custom-made bamboo rolling mats from the Dark Elves to keep the vibes immaculate. The Oni maids try their hand at the rolling process, realizing that applying the perfect amount of pressure is way harder than just being a muscle-bound powerhouse in a maid suit. Even if some of the rolls look like they went through a blender, Hiraku happily eats the evidence because you can't let high-quality crab meat go to waste. No cap. The sushi party is a massive W, and Hiraku takes the moment to explain the science of vinegar preservation, basically turning their dinner into a 100-level biology course. Spring finally spawns into the map, and Hiraku decides to reward everyone for surviving the brutal winter grind by suggesting a massive festival to keep the village spirits high. When he suggests fireworks and flying lanterns, the girls look at him like he's lost his mind because wasting energy just to potentially burn the forest down is a major L. Pikiran Hiraku melayang masala lunyo tentang tradisi dunia asal yong ana seperti melampar tometa tau mengalin dinkin kiju. Yong just remember at para orga mengangap planet asal nyo beno gila. Limunan ichubaya sot Hiraku menyodori idenya terlalu ekstrum. Setting goya membiarkan para gadisman kanakan festival panan sontai yong lebih sesuai dengan suasana desa mereka yong damai. Hiraku is literally watching his villagers lock in for their training arc, from lizard warriors to elf archers. Everyone is giving major main character energy because the festival hype is officially off the charts. Look at these girls doing cardio like their lives depend on it while Harem is standing there being a total drill sergeant, making sure nobody is slacking before they are all absolutely cooked. Hiraku is low-key confused why the HR department is out here trying to throw hands, but apparently, even the desk workers have to join this mandatory fun because this village simply has no chill. Even the toddlers and the friendly neighborhood spiders are out here grinding, right until Hakuran spawns in and announces she wants all the smoke. Which is definitely a major red flag for everyone involved. Hiraku is shaking because Hakuran joining the tournament is like bringing a noob to a pillow fight. And he can already see the whole arena getting absolutely vaporized by her chaotic white dragon Energ. Why? To save the village from total destruction, Hiraku uses his max riz to flatter Hakuran and Lastismin into becoming referees, successfully turning to final bosses into peaceful arena hall monitors instead. No cap. Meanwhile, Lulaki and Tia are over here sipping tea while serving major passive-aggressive vibes. Because their ancient beef is clearly still simmering even during a casual hangout with the girls at table. Since the upcoming matches are looking absolutely brutal, the ill-fed medical team is standing by to refill HP bars, ensuring nobody actually dies because medical insurance in this fantasy world is probably non-existent. Hiraku and the gang are out here playing Minecraft in real life, designing a massive stone stadium complete with a food court to make sure the spectators can snack while watching people catch fades. The festival day finally passes the vibe check as people from every race show up like it is Coachella, ready to feast and watch the village warriors give it their absolute all in the ring. Yuri casually brings her dad, the literal demon Lord Golgado, to the party, and his dark aura has Hiraku sweating more than a student who forgot their homework in front of the scariest teacher. Turns out the demon lord is actually a total bestie, but the relief is short-lived when the ancient dragon Doze pulls up, making the VIP list look more like a god-tier reunion of legends. Despite the awkward tension, these two legends decide to show that game recognizes game. Exchanging a respectful salute instead of turning the festival into a world-ending battlefield right then and total respect. Sitting on his VIP throne like a total boss, Hiroku drops a quick opening speech that has the crowd going absolutely feral, officially kicking off the tournament with some serious main character energy. The tournament tutorial explains that you lose if you get kicked out of the ring or lose your stylish headband, which is basically a high-stakes version of capture the flag without the actual dying. The opening match between Rosalind and Mamu starts with them immediately throwing heavy hands. And the intensity is so high that Hiroku is wondering if he accidentally organized a gladiatorial deathmatch. CH for the ages. Rosalind grabs the win because of Mamu's skill issue with her headband, but she is looking pretty banged up, proving that these villagers are actually built different and need some serious safety warnings. Continuing the trend of the villagers being built different, Donovan enters the ring and basically ignores a whole-ass explosion like it's a light drizzle, proving these veterans have maximum aura and zero chill. The tournament keeps moving at 2x speed as Roju and Flora show off their diverse skill sets, making the rest of the matches look like a total mid-tier speedrun for the impatient viewers. Now we're reaching the open bracket finals where Flo is spamming wind magic, but Senna is moving with that main character energy, using her high agility to turn the match into a nightmare. Senna decides that magic is for nerds and gets right in Flo's personal space, using her beastkin physical riz to absolutely cook the magic user in a brutal and intense close quarters physical beatdown. Since they both hit the ground at the same time, it's a certified draw, and Hiroku steps in to hand out medals like a proud dad celebrating everyone's participation in this glorious chaos. With the casuals out of the way, the vibes shift instantly as the village prepares for the Elite Warrior tournament, where the actual monsters of the community finally come out to play for real. First up in the big leagues is Zeno, whose very existence as an inferno wolf is basically a jump scare for poor Junia, triggering her ancestral trauma and making her low-key want to quit. Against all odds, Junia locks in and uses her massive snake tail to pin Ano down, proving she's not just a scared NPC, though the wolf still looks like he's got more in the tank. The massive aura from Uno's transformation is just too much, forcing a crying Junia to surrender before Dogger gets ready to face Makura, a spider who is way deadlier than her name implies. Don't let her cute name distract you, because Makura is out here playing 5D chess, using her small frame to launch a series of unpredictable leaping attacks that have Dogger looking totally confused. Dogger finds out the hard way that Sabaton's kids don't play around, getting himself wrapped up in a magical web cocoon that's way too strong for even his lizard muscles to break through easily. Ya is trying her best with that massive hammer, but Golf is moving like he's got lag-free internet, making her look like she's swinging in slow motion while he just dances on her efforts. In a last-ditch effort, Ya gambles everything on a massive explosion to clear the stage, but Golf dodges it like a pro and secures the win, leaving the poor elf totally cooked and exhausted. To keep things fair for the Flyers, new rules are dropped for Gran Maria and Lee face off, setting the stage for an epic aerial showdown that's about to take this tournament to new heights. Lee is out here trying to be Legolas with those rapid-fire arrows, but Gran Maria is literally built different and just swats them away like annoying mosquitoes in this high-stakes match. Gran Maria thought she had the aerial riz, but Lee pulls a pro-gamer move and drops from the sky like a stealth mission, dragging the fight down to a messy ground brawl. Just as Gran Maria locks her in a lethal hog, Lee decides to eat a spicy glowing leaf, triggering a massive magical explosion because she would rather blow everyone up than take the L. The explosion was so extra that it drained their entire mana bars, leaving both of them looking absolutely cooked and unconscious on the floor in a very dramatic and unexpected double knockout. The elite bracket is basically a speedrun now as Tia and Lu start deleting their opponents instantly, proving they are the main characters, while everyone else is just an NPC getting farmed. Finally, the hype is real, as these two unstoppable queens step into the arena to settle their beef once and for all in the most anticipated showdown of the entire tournament. Their movement is so insanely fast that Hiroku is forced to pull out a magical cheat code spear just to see what is happening. Otherwise it is just a blur of high-speed violence. Lu starts spamming magical artillery like a toxic gamer, but Tia decides to tank everything with her face and charges through the crossfire just to get within punching range. What a beast! Forget the elegant magic. The girls have officially entered their feral era and started a literal street fight, throwing one final punch that probably shook the entire planet's tectonic plates. Tia's tanky build finally secures her the win, leaving a very salty Lu throwing a legendary tantrum on the ground because she simply cannot handle the fact that she just got mobbed. Before Tia can even start her victory dance, Makura the giant spider pulls up with the ultimate sneak attack, wrapping her in webs and stealing the crown like a total boss ninja. Hiroku tries to end the festival on a high note, but the dragon judges have zero chill and demand an exhibition match because their fighting spirits are way too hyped to quit. The dragons' clash creates a literal nuclear event that turns the arena into a wasteland, proving that letting dragons settle their beef in a village was a massive zero IQ decision. A very stressed Hiroku starts roasting the two charred dragons while Lasti is sobbing over her loss and Hakuran is acting like she just won the lottery despite destroying the entire town. Despite the village now looking like a smoking moon crater, everyone somehow considers this tournament a huge success since miraculously no one died in this absolute chaos of a weekend. Hiroku is out here flexing his farming riz by pulling up massive daikon radishes while Senna just stands there like a certified NPC watching him clean his produce with some casual magic. Senna really thought she ate when she took a massive bite of that raw daikon, but the spice hit her so hard she instantly started lagging and crying from the absolute betrayal. While Hiroku is busy planning his winter meal prep like a pro-survivalist, a pack of wild village kids suddenly spawns in to interrupt his very serious logistics meeting about radish pickling. Some random guest was literally face-planting the ground in a full bow before Valgrife suddenly pops up with maximum main character energy to greet Hiroku, leaving everyone low-key confused by the vibe. Hiroku has zero social awareness and totally fumbles the relationship dynamic here, forcing Fushu to step up and officially introduce herself before this man's head completely explodes from all the confusion. Valgrife is out here yapping about how her church is basically a global monopoly while Hiroku just sits there trying to process that his new guest is actually a high-tier holy celebrity. The second Hiroku realizes he's hosting literal VIPs, his internal monologue starts screaming because he's terrified his rural village hospitality is about to get a 1-star review on the Holy Yelp. The mood shifts from casual yapping to absolute desperation as Fushu reveals her son is basically cooked, begging Hiroku for a medical miracle to save him from a terminal case of bad. Enter Flora, the village's resident big brain doctor whose medical riz is supposedly unmatched, making her the only hope for curing a disease that has the rest of the world completely stumped. Even though the situation looks totally mid and Fushu is losing hope, Flora and Lululaki decide to lock in and cook up a legendary cure because giving up isn't in their dictionary. Lululaki starts listing off ingredients that sound like a hardcore RPG fetch quest, so the whole village squad immediately mobilizes to find these rare items before the timer runs out. The High Elves are out here volunteering for the most dangerous side quests, aiming to snag some sketchy mushrooms and dragon tears while the rest of the crew preps for the grind. Hiroku suddenly realizes that the legendary black stone they need is basically just a common paperweight over at Drime's place, proving that having powerful friends is the ultimate cheat code in life. The elves finally return with the goods after a literal boss fight with some sentient mushrooms, proving that even for high-tier warriors, foraging in the wild can be a total nightmare scenario. Hiroku is out here protecting his eardrums after being warned the last plant screams like a banshee, making the whole harvesting process feel like a high-stakes horror movie scene with no sound. Instead of a scream, that plant literally gassed the whole area with a smell so foul Hiroku had to speedrun to the shower, leaving the medical experts to finish the stinky job. While Hiroku is busy scrubbing the smell of failure off his skin, Fushu is outside praying like her life depends on it, hoping the potion-making process doesn't end in a total pharmacy disaster. The alchemy grind finally hits its peak, resulting in a massive magical explosion that absolutely wrecks the roof. But hey, at least the potion is finished, and looking totally bossing for the patient. With no time to waste on a house tour, Fushu and Michael decide to dip through a portal, securing the bag and rushing home before the kid's HP bar hits 0 for real. Hiroku tries to play the grateful host to his exhausted medical team. But the main character energy shifts instantly when the local temple starts glowing like a neon rave party, in the middle of nowhere. Since the temple's holy glow is low-key ruining Zabuton's beauty sleep, Hiroku pulls the ultimate dad move by just shutting the door on the mister. Because peace and quiet are clearly more important than law. The next morning is all about that farm life until they spot a tree that triggers Hiroku's memories of his chaotic era when he was just spawning random seeds like a total gardening NPC. Hiroku realizes his past self had zero organization skills, leaving him staring at a massive tree with no clue what it is because he forgot to label his work like a disorganized college student. Flora steps in with some much-needed logic, telling Hiroku to actually start a spreadsheet for his plants while Senna finds some weird green fruit that looks like it belongs in a mystery box. Using his modern world brain, Hiroku breaks down the science of walnuts for the locals, explaining that these weird little green balls are actually hiding some top-tier snacks inside their super harder warmer plating. Seeing her Kuren's absolute girl boss energy, Senna decides to use her beastkin wrist to smash open some almonds, proving that, in this village, you don't need a nutcracker when you have literal superhuman strength. The team gets baited by some leaves thinking they found sweet potatoes, only for Hiroku to pull a pro-gamer move and yank up a bunch of peanuts hiding in the dirt like sneaky campers. Looking at the massive haul, Hiroku starts getting nostalgic for his past life's happy hour, realizing his subconscious was basically just planting a buffet of the perfect side dishes to go with cold D.E.R. Things get truly weird when they find the cashew tree, which looks so alien and exotic that everyone is collectively confused by the fact that the actual nut is just hanging off the bottom. Zabuton gets first dibs on the fruity part while the rest of the squad prepares a legendary roasted nut platter, turning the discovery into a full-blown village feast that would make any foodie jealous. The nut arc ends with the village realizing they've struck gold, as Flora starts calculating the profit margins while they debate which nut deserves the title of the ultimate Sigma snack of the season. Moving from a nut feast to high-altitude aviation, Mayor Hiroku starts cooking up some high-IQ parachute designs, discussing the schematics with the girls to ensure their village flight program doesn't end in a disaster. Since nobody wants to be a crash test dummy, Maya spots the wine slime living its best life and decides this bouncy little legend is the perfect candidate for some involuntary high-altitude physics tea. Sting. The absolute unit of a slime decides parachutes are for NPCs, jumping solo and bouncing back to its original form like nothing happened, effectively proving it's literally built different and ending the village's safety concerns. Shifting gears to the workshop, Yer shows off a bowl so hilariously oversized it looks like a glitched asset. While Hiterto wonders if their mountain elf engineering team has finally lost its last brain cell, the bowl inevitably shatters into pieces, triggering a deep flashback for Hiterto as she remembers their rough past, realizing that their current cozy life is way better than being homeless and constantly starving in the woods. The clan spent ages wandering the wilderness like lost players in an open-world RPG before stumbling upon Great Tree Village, a discovery that officially upgraded their status from struggling survivors to premium-tier luxury residents.
私たちを受け入れてくれた大事な村に。
Snapping back to reality, Hiterto starts stressing about their job security, fearing that if they don't prove their worth to Maya soon, they might lose access to this 5-star lifestyle and unlimited village snacks. She calculates that since Maya is a fair leader, the ultimate pro-gamer move is to secure a spot in his inner circle through some top-tier romance. Basically planning to speedrun a marriage route for stability. It turns out Yor already has the massive hots for Maya, getting caught acting all shy and blushy, which makes Hiterto's plan to play matchmaker a whole lot easier since the romantic feelings are already. Why there?
わかりました。
Instead of working on her charm, Yor decides to grind her strength stats by lifting massive rocks. Clearly misunderstanding the assignment because she thinks having a high power level is the only way to. RIZZ. Yor argues that a real woman wins her man through a trial by combat, forcing Hiterto to explain that Maya isn't looking for a wrestling partner, and that her barbarian logic is actually quite cooked. Yor's confidence takes a massive L when she remembers her Kuran is a literal dragon, realizing her puny elf muscles can't compete with a lizard that can delete a mountain, leading to a total mental breakdown. The execution is a total fail when Yor tries to show off her strength to Maya, but instead of being impressed, he's just low-key terrified of the giant boulder she's waving around like a threat. Hiterto begs her to show some feminine charm to salvage the situation, but Yor just flexes her shredded abs instead, proving her brain is made of pure muscle and she has zero concept of being girly. The episode ends on a peak comedy note as Yor starts hitting professional bodybuilding poses, leaving a frustrated Hiterto screaming into the void because her friend is officially too far gone into the Jimbro lifestyle. The village looks like a cozy vibe, until the mayor realizes some NPCs just wandered into the dark forest, unknowingly triggering the local monster security system that is about to end their whole careers. Giant demon rabbits and edgy black wolves spawn from the shadows like a total nightmare, absolutely cooking the intruders who realized way too late that these forest guardians are definitely not here to make friends. These harpies and angels are currently being served as spiderweb burritos, while the mayor just watches, wondering how he is supposed to manage a group of legendary prisoners who clearly had some major skill issues. Granmaria drops in to spill some tea about the situation, explaining that these attackers are not just random mobs, but are actually led by an old angelic acquaintance who clearly forgot how to invade properly. Kyabit is currently tied upside down like a bat, yet she is still yapping at the mayor with maximum ego, proving that being captured has not nerfed her delusional energy one single bit, for real. Kyabit starts ranting about her invasion motive, which turns out to be pure saltiness over Granmaria's squad living their best life, while she was stuck being a hater back home with absolutely zero riz. Granmaria steps in to explain how being a lazy angel is actually a violation of their biology, breaking down the rigid angelic traditions that turn this entire invasion into a massive and awkward family drama. The mayor realizes this entire war was triggered by nothing but petty jealousy, losing his patience with the sheer absurdity of the situation as he starts cooking up a new plan for these annoying invaders. Ignoring Kyabit's tantrum, the mayor pulls a pro-gamer move by offering the captive subordinates a cozy life and good food if they just stop being NPCs and agree to surrender to his village right now. The harpies immediately switch sides for the vibes, but the angels are still lagging because their strict hierarchy won't let them betray Kyabit without a proper excuse to save their angelic reputation from falling. The mayor creates a massive loophole by threatening to give Kyabit all the smoke, making the subordinates feel totally justified in betraying her so they can finally secure that delicious bread and live in peace. Kyabit's pride is absolutely shattered as she watches her troops feast on sandwiches while leaving her behind. Yet she still tries to act tough even though her entire army just got a major reality check. Granmaria suggests a formal duel through the 5 official trials to settle this beef, offering a diplomatic way to handle Kyabit without the mayor having to catch a permanent ban for being too aggressive. Kyabut happily agrees to the challenge, fully convinced that this fragile human stands zero chance against her trials and will definitely get cooked before he can even finish the very first round. No cap, Kyabut kicks off the first trial by demanding a massive pile of gold, assuming this rural village is way too broke to pay up and will fail the challenge instantly like a total group of losers. Kyabut thought she was slick demanding gold from a farmer, but Hiroku pulls out a massive rare gem like it's pocket change, leaving her shook and forced to start round 2 immediately. Moving to trial 2, Kyabut tries a stone-taking game, but Hiroku has that big brain energy and uses 200 IQ math strategies to absolutely cook her, winning back-to-back while she remains clueless. Distraught by her Kyabut switches to a combat trial and summons the legendary vampire Lululaki, hoping her natural enemy will finally put this overpowered human in his place for good.
呼んできた。こんにちは。
After that awkward family reunion, Hiroku secures another easy win, making Kyabut so desperate that she summons a massive dragon for the 4th trial, truly believing this will finally be his funeral. Joke's on her, because the scary dragon is actually Hiroku's bro Dream, who just hands over gifts and leaves Kyabut's spirit completely broken after another legendary fail in this totally rigged competition. For the final coin toss, Kyabut officially enters her NPC villain era by blatantly kicking the coin when she loses, abandoning all her angel pride, just to cope with this massive skill issue.
そんなの反則よ。あなたも床にめり込みますか。
Tia puts an end to the tantrum by forcing Kyabut to accept it eventually spilling the tea to Hiroku about the poor girl's family trauma that explains why she's being so extra. Instead of banning her, Hiroku shows off his Sigma empathy and pardons Kyabut, who immediately switches sides, enjoying the village hospitality and actually being productive for once as an honored guest. With the beef settled, the angels integrate into the village like total pros, setting up aerial patrols and living their best lives while enjoying the high-tier food and peaceful vibes of the community. This massive red dragon suddenly transforms into a blonde guy named Domain, who immediately loses all his aura by breaking down into tears and begging the village for asylum like a total mess. Domain tries to dump his emotional trauma on his siblings, Hakuran and Dream, but they have zero sympathy and completely ignore his breakdown because Hiroku's cooking is way more important than family. Drama. Turns out Domain isn't just being a drama queen, because a massive blue dragon suddenly spawns outside like a final boss, letting out a roar that definitely says he is in big trouble. This scaly beast transforms into a waifu named Kwon, who claims she is just Domain's fiancée, turning this epic fantasy standoff into a chaotic episode of a dragon-themed reality dating show real quick. Kwon's sweet fiancé energy lasts exactly 2 seconds before she goes full yender, making Domain's siblings instantly fold and caw in fear because her boss aura is way too high for them to handle. She starts gaslighting him by claiming she is the real victim, while her jealousy creates a massive power surge, convinced that Domain has been pulling some secret riz on other girls behind her back.
ちょっと待った。俺はあっちでドマイムと話す。
Mayor Hiroku decides he has had enough of the toxic dragon drama, stepping in like a professional bouncer to separate the couple and locking Domain in a private room so he cannot escape. Hiroku drops some harsh truth bombs, explaining that since they were engaged as literally eggs, Domain is basically cooked and there is no map-wide fast travel that can save him from his prehistoric destiny. Since Domain is too much of a scaredy cat to talk, Hiroku suggests a legendary 200 IQ strategy. Negotiate by writing down a list of complaints like he is leaving a spicy 1-star review online. Hiroku isn't playing favorites though, as he wisely tells Kwon to also write her own list of expectations, turning this potential dragon war into a very civilized session of written couples therapy for everyone. These 2 absolute units start exchanging letters like they are in a high-stakes business meeting, spending several days locked in a battle of ink and paper to finally sort out their relationship problem. EMS peacefully.
連れ立ってだった。
Hiroku admits he only played therapist to keep the village from being toasted, But Hakuren gets some dangerous ideas and playfully demands she starts making her own list of requests for him too. The moment Hakuren mentions writing down her demands, Hiraku's soul basically leaves his body. Realizing his brilliant plan just backfired and now his own domestic life is about to get way more complicated.